Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the latest of the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine's Brexit series of webinars. This morning, we will be looking at the new imports portal for traders. Fiona Kelly, who is the IT project manager for Brexit here in the department, will be taking you through that. Noreen Galvin is also joining us from the ICOPS division, and Noreen will be able to help us out on the Q&A later on if any of the questions are specifically about imports rather than about the system itself. So without any further ado, I will hand over to Fiona Kelly to take a look at the imports portal.
Hello, everybody. As Tom said, my name is Fiona Kelly. So I am the IT project manager developing systems to help DAFM to support our requirements for imports for Brexit. So what I'm going to do today is just take you through a first look at the trader portal that's been developed in order for making declarations and providing supporting SPS or sanitary and phytosanitary supporting documentation for imports. So hopefully everyone can see my presentation there. So the imports portal has been developed to provide a simple and fast way for providing the pre-notification that's required to DAFM when you're going to be bringing in an import, and also to provide an avenue to send in your supporting documents for the inspection ahead of time, so that the department can be looking at these ahead of time in order to make it more efficient when you actually arrive at the import locations. So currently and historically, for anybody importing goods that fall under DAFM's remit, there would be different requirements and different methods for submitting the pre-notification and the required documents and information to DAFM, and that would depend on each commodity, and it would also potentially have differences within a commodity itself. So what we're hoping to do with the portal is to bring this all into one place with one method and one process to follow, which is simpler and that you're guided through to make these declarations. This change will obviously come into effect for the UK on the 1st of January 2021, but the system is actually in use at the moment in a limited scope for some existing third country trade, and that's what I'll be showing you today to give you a flavour of what it will look like. So this is the link where you can find the imports portal that is live at the moment. I'm not going to call out the link to you there, it's on screen. This can also be found on the department's website. There are links to it from the plant and horticulture import section, and also the pesticides residue control division. So you will be able to find more detail on the website around how you register to be an importer, what the requirements are for the different types of commodities, and also a link to the portal. So as I said, it is currently live for existing third country imports, specifically in plant and horticulture products, and also in food of non-animal origin with relation to pesticides residues. So those are live at the moment, so you can get a look at it, and if you are importing those products, you can be using the system at the moment. So just at a very general level, I will caveat I am an IT person, so I'm covering this from a very high level IT process rather than knowing the nitty-gritty ins and outs. But at a very high level, when you're declaring an import, there are a number of large scale steps you need to take. So the first is you need to make a declaration on Traces NT, which is the EU's system for trade control and expert system, new technology, which is what the NT stands for. It's an online platform where you supply details of all consignments that are coming into the EU, and there is also some movement between EU countries also recorded on there in terms of, for instance, live animals. So this used to be something that was limited to just the veterinary trade. It is now becoming something that's for all SPS goods. So that would include plant products, pesticides products, and so on. So you need to make a declaration on Traces NT, providing all the details of the commodity that you're bringing in and the required consignment details. After that, you also need to make a declaration to customs, www.revenue.ie, and this is where you're going to make your import declaration. That's currently called a SAD, or a single administrative document. There is a change coming in to the customs code shortly. I'm not going to speak to that at any length because obviously that is for customs, but the import declaration, the current SAD will be changed slightly to be an import declaration. So you'll still need to make that import declaration. And again, that provides details to customs around the consignment, how it's coming into the country, where it's going, and so on. And some of those are details that the department needs as well. And then finally, we need you to make a declaration to DAFM using our imports portal. And the reason why I covered, I suppose, the traces and the customs declaration is when you make the declaration to DAFM, we need you to provide us details of the declaration that's been made on traces. This is the Common Health Entry Document number, or the shed number, which is what happens when you make a declaration on traces. You get a shed. And also then the single administrative document, or the SAD number, or the import declaration number that you're going to get from customs. The reason why we need these documents is to save you time and effort, so you don't have to provide us all the information that you've had to already give to traces and to customs. By providing us those numbers on those different platforms, we can pull some of the information in rather than you having to enter it all again. Finally, in terms of all imports, there's going to be a requirement for a veterinary health cert or a phytosanitary certificate, depending on the commodity. So while the original document normally travels with the consignment, we would be looking for scanned copies of these documents ahead of time. And that is, again, just so that certain checks can be done in advance, which will enable us to drive more efficiencies at the port, to be able to handle and direct you faster to get to where you need to go, so that you can be inspected and then get out of the port and get on your way. For each commodity, there are a number of other supporting documents, and I'm not going to go into those here because it's, to be honest, a topic in itself. These documents do differ between the different types of commodities, and also sometimes, depending on the circumstances of the commodity import, certain documents are needed or not. So there is more information on what documentation is needed for each type of import, and that's on our Brexit page. So that's gov.ie/agriculture/Brexit, and all the major commodities are available there. So you can see trade on for imports and exports on plant products and animal products and so on, and you can see them in the portal. So now I'm going to just show you the portal that's live for plant products currently, and show you that it's essentially 5 easy steps in order to make this declaration to DAFM. So again, once you have made your declaration to traces and to customs, you can come to our portal. This is the landing page. Currently, the portal that is live is an anonymous submission portal, so it's a form you can submit. We are working also on a registered version, and that is to come. So the first step is to provide your contact details. So this is the contact details of the person making the declaration, the person responsible for the consignment, and so on. So we need a phone number and an email address, and this is so that you can be contacted and given confirmation of your import, and that any further communication required with you will be done via this email address. Once you have submitted your contact details, you provide us the details of the country of dispatch and where it's coming into Ireland. So in this instance, it's an export or an import that's coming from Morocco, and it's going to arrive in Dublin Port. I haven't shown you the drop downs here, just they're both a full list of countries in the case of country of dispatch, and then a list of points of arrival, official points of arrival in Ireland. So that's Dublin Port, Rossall Airport, Dublin and Shannon Airport are the options currently there. So once you've given us the departure and the arrival locations, we move on to the selected date and expected time of arrival in Ireland. So this is just your goods are due to arrive tomorrow on a ferry at this is midnight, but it could be 4:20 p.m. or so on. So you select your date and your time, and then you click next. And then you're brought to a selector for the different commodities that are available on the portal. So as I said, this portal is live at the moment with pesticides, residues, and plant and horticulture. So you tick the commodity that you're planning to bring in, and then you click next. And then what you're asked in relation to the commodity that you've picked, you're asked a series of the required pieces of information. So you're asked for the single administrative document number or your customs declaration number. You're asked for your shed number from traces. In the case of plant products, you're asked for your plant health registration number. And then you're asked for the means of transport. So this is by air, roll on, roll off, lift on, lift off for container traffic. And then in the case of roll on, roll off traffic, you're asked if you're an accompanied vehicle or an unaccompanied vehicle. So once you've submitted those 5 pieces of information, sorry, there's actually now a slide missing, you would then be provided a screen to upload your documents. And unfortunately that slide is missing. So that screen provides mandatory documents. Those are the documents you have to upload for a particular commodity. And then there's also an option for further non-mandatory documents. And those are the ones that may or may not be required depending on the import. And you have the ability to attach all those to the case and then move on. You're provided the terms and conditions. These are generally the legislation that the import is governed by, data protection statements, details of what's going to happen on submission of the case, and then you accept the terms and conditions and understanding how the information is used for import controls. At that point, because we're on an anonymous portal, you have to do everybody's favorite Captcha, just to make sure that you are a human being. And then once you have that verified, you can submit your application. Obviously, when we move on to a logged in version of the portal, if you're using the logged in version, there won't be a Captcha stage because you'll already have been logged in. So once you submit the application, a box comes up and it shows you the progress of the case being submitted. So the data being submitted, the attached files being submitted, and then the fact that it's been confirmed. And then if it's something that you're doing multiple imports at the same time, so you have multiple commodities or multiple consignments coming in, you have the ability to then choose to submit another form or to close out the process if you're finished. So if you submit another form, essentially all that happens is the screen or the process reloads for you, but as you can see here, it skips over your contact details because that's kept in memory for you, and then you just go through the details of the next consignment. So its origin, its arrival point, its date and time of arrival, all of the different pieces of information related to the next consignment that you need to do, and the process can then be run over and over again to complete all the different consignments you need to submit. This is an example of an email. So once you have submitted your application, you get the confirmation on screen to show you that it's been submitted. And you also then receive an email to the address that was provided in the application process. So this is just, it gives you the application ID, the date that you've submitted it. It's a confirmation that it's been submitted, and it also provides a certain amount of next step instructions below. Importantly, it also provides, you can see it there on screen, the email link in a very large font. And the idea here is that if you have any future communications on your case, if you forgot to attach a document and you want to send it in, or if you had a query, you should email using that link, because what that does is it creates an email for you to send in that includes this application reference number here, and that just means that your further information that you're sending in can be more quickly linked to the original case that's with agriculture that's being inspected and being processed through. So it's very important to remember to when you receive that email, to make a note of that application ID, because that's how it's easiest to find your case in the system. So that was the portal that's live at the moment for the trade. As I said, it is limited to just the 2 commodities, and it is limited to third country trade at the moment. That'll expand out to UK trade come January. At the moment, the department is working on a number of enhancements, and we're hoping that these will be in place soon, certainly ahead of the January 1st deadline for Brexit. So these improvements are, we want to make an authenticated version of the trader for our registered users. So anyone who uses other department systems on ag-food, you would be able to use your import notification system on that logged in version of the portal. And this allows certain things to speed up your process. So for instance, auto population of your contact details and your vendor number and so on. There is an ability to have the settings you use all the time. If you're somebody who does the same import from the same location to the same port, those things could be saved and again auto populated for you. Most usefully perhaps, you will be able to view your application history. So you'll be able to see a list of all the cases that you have submitted into the system in one screen. You'll be able to click in and out of those cases to see the information, and you'll also be able to see the status, whether it's in progress, whether it's been completed from a DAFM SPS point of view. There will be, much like traces, there are limited windows of time where you will be able to edit or update a submitted case. So before it started the processing, if you realize, oh, I forgot to attach a document, or I made a mistake, I put in the wrong number on that import, you can go in and make that change, and again just help to save yourself some time down the road if there is an error. And then ultimately all application related communications should happen within the portal. So this would hopefully remove the need for emails between DAFM and the trade. When there are issues, they could be handled through the portal. So those are some of the enhancements that are in development at the moment. And as I said, we're hoping to have those up and running shortly, but certainly ahead of the January 1st deadline. So just as a summary, in order to do your imports, it's very important, first of all, that you register with the department as an importer. So you can find all the details of how to register with the department on our website, gov.ie/agriculture/Brexit. You'll find all the details, application forms, and so on in order to register. After that, timely and accurate submission of your import details. So making sure that you get the details required and you get them into the department in good time, so that the department has the chance to examine all of the documents and so on, and make good, fast decisions that will hopefully help you get through the port or through the airport at a faster pace. Remember, before you make a declaration to agriculture, to have your Traces NT shed number, your customs import declaration number, and whatever the required supporting documents for yourself. It's important to note that the submission, as you've seen on this presentation, it is a one-stage process. So you don't save it halfway through and come back to it later. Once you start, you work your way through attaching the required information and you submit it in the end. So it's important to have the required information to hand so that you can do this in a nice fast time frame. When you have all the documentation to hand, this is a process that should only take a couple of minutes to work through the screens and attach the documents. And then, as I said, use your case identity number for further correspondence if there is any to be had. So again, it's always, our Brexit page is gov.ie/agriculture/Brexit. All the information in relation to the requirements for each type of consignment, and also how to register, and all the other information you need to know about your agriculture related Brexit news is on that page. So that is a good resource to go to. And that is essentially the end of my presentation. I hope you found this useful, and I think I assume I'm handing over to Tom for the questions and answers panel.
Yes, thank you very much, Fiona. We've only had one question so far, which was, would we be using this portal instead of traces? But I think that you did actually explain in the course of the presentation that you will need your traces information to hand in order to use this portal.
Yeah, so they do have a different requirement for traces, so it will need to have both filled in, but the benefit of having your traces done ahead of time in this case is that you don't need to enter all that information again because it's on traces, so we can reference it from your traces number.
But you will have to do traces first.
Yeah.
Next question we have, okay, we have a couple of other ones. Will we have multiple EHCs on every trailer? I don't know if that's so much for you as it is for Noreen, maybe.
Hi, Tom. Yes, I can take that. Yeah, so you'll have multiple multiple health certs on every trailer. Each health cert will have its shed, so each health cert is a consignment. So for each upload that Fiona was talking about, you'll have to repeat that for each consignment. So you'll be clicking the what was it called, Fiona? Upload more documents or do another import.
Yeah, so submit another application, yeah.
That was it, sorry.
Another one, I think this one might be for me, which is, will the presentation be available and where? Yes, it will. Both the presentation and the webinar will be going up online, and you'll be able to access it on our YouTube channel, and you'll also be able to access it on our Brexit pages. But we can send out a link to people if they want to contact us in relation to that. When can we get our MRN to start moving the goods? Is a question from Siobhan Harrison. I don't know, is that for you, Fiona?
Noreen might actually be able to provide a bit more information.
Okay.
Your MRN is you receive that from customs. So I'm not 100% certain of the timeframes. Is there restrictions on the timeframes of when you can receive your MRN from revenue? So again, that may also depend on the information that you need to provide to customs, may be something that is time sensitive or is subject to time restrictions. So in terms of when you can get your MRN or your import declaration number, the best advice I could give would be to contact or seek that information from customs, because they would be the experts in that relation.
Yes, I'd back up Fiona on that. Yeah, that would definitely be a customs question.
Okay, we have a few more. They're coming in thick and fast now. Can a customs clearance agent be registered as the importer or as a direct representative? Again, I think that's probably Noreen.
Yeah, so the person that's doing the uploading to the portal and who's generating the Common Health Entry document on Traces NT is a person that we refer to as the operator responsible for the consignment. So customs agents do register and do perform these tasks, but they are specifically referred to as operator responsible for the consignment when it comes to the terminology around the SPS checks, and they must be registered on Traces for this activity. So yes, anyone can be an operator responsible for the consignment. They obviously should have an understanding of what's required, but most importantly, they must be registered, first of all with the Department of Agriculture and then subsequently with Traces for this role, specifically this role.
Okay, thank you, Noreen. Again, as I say, they're coming through thick and fast now. This is a good question, I think, for you, Fiona. Will the system be live for use in late December for applications on consignments that are due in early January?
Yeah, so that would be the intention. The pre-notification period will be advised by DAFM, I suppose, and I wouldn't know exactly what it is depending on each commodity, but whatever the pre-notification period ahead of the 1st of January, the system should be live ahead of that in order to facilitate the submission of requests for the 1st of January. So we are looking to put this system live as soon as possible. That said, obviously the United Kingdom as a country of origin will only go onto the list of dispatch countries close to when they would become a third country. So that will happen though in late December ahead of the January 1st deadline.
Okay, thank you very much. Another one for Noreen, I think. If you have composite products with both animal and plant in them, do we need to send that through the portal?
Yes, so composite products, so some composite products do not require veterinary checks, and there's very stringent rules about that, that they qualify for what we call a derogation. Other composite products require a export health certificate. Again, there's guidance on our website which products qualify, or you can contact us directly and we can help you with that. If you require a health certificate for it, then you do need to declare on traces, and you do need to upload your information on the portal for the necessary SPS checks. If your composite product is derogated, that is a good question, because usually we need to see proof of derogation from ingredient list, etc. So I'll have to get back to you on that, about if you're bringing in products, composite products that do not require a health cert, they're derogated from SPS checks, how you're going to notify us of them coming in. In fact, you possibly, whether you need to notify us, because they don't have to enter through a border control post. So we'll have to come back to you on that. But certainly if they require a health certificate, yes, you require to upload those details on the portal.
Another one, I think, probably it could be for either one of you really. How will the routing process work at Dublin Port? That's probably for a different webinar, if I'm honest.
I think it possibly is, Tom. It works through a very coordinated multi-agency system, and it's important. So the online portal that Fiona is referring to allows us to know whether the load, it allows customs to talk to our system. It allows us then ultimately to know if the load has HSE interest, and then we decide what inspection that load is going to be subjected to in the next stage of the process. Customs are informed of that, and then customs ultimately route that lorry first for their customs reasons, and then secondarily to fulfill the DAFM or the HSE requirements. So the routing is done via customs.
And the questioner should be happy to know that we are planning to do something on port operations in December. So that should be a little bit more detailed, and you'll be able to get a more full explanation of that. One of the questions we have here is, are we planning a similar webinar for exports, and when? In fact, we're planning more than one for exports, one for plant products, one for products of animal origin and live animals, and there may also be one on equines. So those will all again be in December, and we will post up the information on those as soon as we have it. Here's quite an interesting question. Can you put more than one commodity per HC? Or do they have to be
I can take that. I can take that. So the certifying veterinarian in the UK will know by the commodity codes which commodities can go on the same health cert. So there can be more than one commodity on a health cert, providing it is eligible to go on the same model health cert. So there's a model health cert for fresh poultry, there's a model health cert for fresh beef, there's a model health cert for dairy, and certainly there will be more than one commodity. There'd be more than one type of milk or more than one type of cheese that could go on each certificate. But that is very much up to your certifying authority in the UK and the guidance that they will have received, but ultimately the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that. This is another one for Fiona. Did I see on one of the snapshot documents that original documents to be submitted to Dublin Airport arrivals within 5 days, but shipments through Dublin Port is on arrival? And they did say that that could be something that they misunderstood from just quickly reading the slide.
I can't comment on the Dublin Airport piece, but certainly at Dublin Port, certain original documents are required, and Noreen might be able to comment on this as well. Certainly the original veterinary health cert is required on presentation at Dublin Port. However, a scanned copy in advance allows us to do a number of documentary checks ahead of time to save time when you do arrive at the port.
Okay, thank you very much. Here's another good one. Will there be an opportunity to use the system before the 1st of January for testing and familiarizing ourselves with how it works as an individual companies? Will there be a beta version put up for them to use before it's actually live?
That is a very good question, and that is one I will have to take away and examine. Generally, when an authenticated version of the system goes up, it is different than our anonymous version that would be there at the moment. And certainly once a customer is registered and they would have access and they would be able to go in and look at the system. As to whether a beta version that's fully usable, that is something I'll have to take away and come back to you with an answer on.
Okay, let me see. The next one is, can you use this service within 24 hours of arrival? I presume that means, can you do it retrospectively?
Again, I think it's subject, and Noreen might be able to comment on pre-notification periods. The system will be set up to be used generally in advance of arrival. I don't believe you can pick a retrospective date and time, but whether there's a restriction on specific timeframes, as in, you know, it's 30 hours from now, so you can't choose 2 hours from now. You certainly can't choose a past date, so it is a pre-notification system, so the date and time must be in the future.
Yes, I might add to that,
sorry,
please,
Noreen.
Tom. Yeah, just this is for the document submission, which we do want 24 hours in advance in order to complete the documentary checks. As Fiona said, it's to make sure that we can do the first stage of the import controls process. So we do want the documents submitted 24 hours in advance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Fiona, this is a question about your missing slide and about the additional optional documents normally requested. Can you just tell people what they are?
So, for instance, the required documents, they do differ depending on commodity, but they tend to be a scanned copy of your veterinary health cert or your phytosanitary cert, a copy of your import declaration document. Some commodities would ask you for a copy of your shed, others will only ask for the shed number to be provided. Some examples of the non-mandatory or the additional documents, depending on the consignment, could be the airline bill of lading or the bill of lading. It could be a commercial invoice. It could be a certificate of origin. It could be an organics document. It could be a catch certificate for a fishery product or a processing statement for a fishery product. So there are a number of supporting documents. And for instance, when you think about the fisheries supporting document, obviously not all animal products are fish products, and therefore you can't have a mandatory requirement for a fish-related cert document on all animal products. So this is why some of the documents are non-mandatory. It also speaks perhaps to when I'm talking about the complexity of these mandatory and non-mandatory document sets for different commodity types and even within different commodity areas. And that is why it is best to use the agriculture Brexit page to find out the specific requirements for your specific product.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you need to list each commodity on the shed if you have more than one on the health cert? That's probably for Noreen, is it?
Yeah, I can take that. Yes, you do. And the important thing is that the number, the volume, the amount of boxes, amount of cartons, or the weight, whichever token of measurement is you're using, that by when you have added in all your commodities on the shed, that the total metrics at the end is equivalent to the metrics that have been certified on the health cert. So you enter it as per the commodities and the details on the health cert. So yes, you do need to list each commodity on the shed that is listed on the health cert.
Thank you very much. How does someone apply for a derogation? Is another question.
So if we are talking about the composite products that are derogated, so I would ask the importer to contact us directly. So if you contact the organizer or Tom directly, he can forward it to us, and we can talk to you about that. It's just whether your product can fulfill all the requirements to not require SPS checks on import.
Okay, and the last one I'm going to do, because obviously we are going to have to wrap up here. Any of the other questions that are remaining or any that come in, I will refer to the correct people, and we will come back to the people involved. Do all organic products need to go on Traces NT?
I can give a comment on that, in that I would need to talk to our organics department on that. Again, please, if you submit the question to Tom, we will get back to you from our organics department on that.
Tom, I might just add to what Noreen said, a little bit of information that I am aware of. So during this presentation, I spoke about the Common Health Entry Document, or the shed number on traces. So that is for your phytosanitary or sanitary, it's your imported product. There is also another certificate type on traces called a COI, or it's a certificate of inspection, I believe is what it's called. And so when you're doing an organics related import, you also declare a COI on traces. Now, however, I don't, beyond knowing that the COI exists and is a requirement for organics, I actually don't know anything more about that. So that would be a question perhaps to submit to the traces unit.
Okay, and I will refer these on. I have another quite specific one here from Jamie O'Reilly, but I am actually going to refer that on to someone so that they can give a much more comprehensive answer to it, because it's about a very specific situation. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I might leave it there. I just want to make you aware we do have a webinar on traces next week, next Wednesday. So just keep an eye out for that on our social media channels and on our website. And we will be doing other ones on land bridge, rules of origin, the various export certifications related to different types of products. So we have some quite relevant ones coming up that I think some of you may be interested in. So keep an eye on our social media and keep an eye on our website. And thank you very much, all of you, for joining us today. And thank you for that great series of questions. And it only remains for me to thank both Fiona and Noreen for their very comprehensive answers. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Thank you.